Hello everyone. Can you hear me? Just confirm me in the comments in the chat. Just let me know if you can hear me well, so we can start. All right, maybe we can wait a few minutes until everyone can join, and then we can start today's session. By the way, just confirm for me if you can hear me well, if my voice is clear, and if everything is fine. Just write me in the chat so I can know in case there is an issue or something like that. All right. Okay, perfect. So maybe another 2 minutes and then we can start our session for today. So yeah, just go ahead and click the like button. So I see 9 people. I would like to see also 9 likes. And also, like, for the people who will watch later on, just don't forget to like the video, to leave a comment, and also like to share with your friends, invite your friends, so we can grow the community together and we do something nice all together. All right. Also, like, I hope you had a productive week. I hope you enjoyed this week at least, and I hope that you are ready for the next week. All right. So another minute and then we will go. We will start our session for today. So today it's gonna be something really nice. So yeah, just okay. Maybe I will announce it just in a few seconds what we will do today. All right. So all right. So welcome everyone. Welcome to this new session. Today's session, it will be about ERD, or like entity relationship diagram. So today we will learn together step by step how to start from business requirements and also from the system design or the system or the global architecture or the global system design we made the last time, how we can define or how we can set up our ERD or our entity relationship, also known as database diagram. So for that, we will start from this. So like we will start from the business requirements to define what we need to define as entities for our application. And also we will use this application system design also to define what are the entities or the other entities that we need to add, or like we need to take care of when designing a database. Why this is important? First, it's important here just to have all the entities and the correct relationships that we have for our application, just to make our application working fine, like in a good way. And also here we added or like we created our system design for the application, or the application system design. We will need to take care or to add few entities just to make everything working smoothly. So like the entities, they don't need just to reflect only the application, but the application plus the system design altogether, since this is gonna formulate, or this is gonna be the global overview or the global design for our application. Since our application needs to communicate to the database, so the database needs to handle everything in the application design or the application system design, and as well as the business requirements from our customer. All right. So the first question is how to determine what are the entities that we need, starting from the business requirements. So like the customer, he will send us the business requirements and he doesn't know anything about databases. He doesn't know anything about designing a database, entities, relationships, and so on and so forth. So it's up to us, it's our mission to decide or to design the database or the application. So now we are mainly talking about the database design. So do not mix between application design and database design. So now we are focusing only on the database design system, or like the database design. Exactly. All right, so here from the business requirements, what do we have here? So like we have the purpose and objective. So here we have the platform or the application should manage games, and it should be something like something similar to the PlayStation Store, where we can create games. Also like the community can interact, or like we have a community part in the application. So here, as I mentioned, we have some admin features. So an admin, so let's not focus on the admin right now, but a user, generally speaking, can upload a new game with the following details: title, supported platforms, picture, which is going to be the cover image. Also like he can edit and delete games. He can also like block users from accessing the platform. So this is the first part. The second part, so here we have the users can view the list of published games. So okay, this is we already covered in the previous slide. Also, they can search for games. We also covered it in the previous slide. What do I mean by we covered it? So here we are talking about game. All right. So like here, the first thing that I can notice is that we need an entity or a table in our database where we need or where we can store games and interact with them. Then what do we have? We have community interaction. So we have users. So this is important. Can read comments publicly. So here we have also comments. So this is also important. So here let's start doing it step by step. So the first thing, let me find it in here. All right. So here, what do we have? We have a game. All right. So here for the game, what do we have? Let's for now we don't care about the IDs, but we have a title. Let's say it's gonna be a varchar or a string. It's up to you how to call it. So here we have also supported platforms. Supported platforms, or platform as you like. So I'm gonna make it a bit bigger or wider. And this one, let's say also it's gonna be a varchar, but I will tell you later on what we can do for this one. And also we have a picture. All right, so we have a picture or a cover picture. And this is gonna be also of type varchar or a string, like both are the same. So this is our game. And then what do we have? We have here users can read a game, the game comments publicly without authentication. So this does not, this is not important for us, but here we have comments. This means that for each game, we can have many comments. So like the community can interact with the game. So here the first thing I need to think about is that I need to have an entity called comment. So in the comment, what do we have? So let's say mainly we have a comment. So the comment itself, so and it's gonna be of type varchar. All right, so here let's remove these two fields, these two extra fields. Now how to read or how to define the relationship between the game and the comment. This is how you can define it. So this is how you can understand what is the type of the relationship. So here, imagine that we are in a platform. So we already have a platform and we want to add a comment. So for a game, imagine you as a user. So for a game, you can add many comments, right? So like you are not limited to one comment, because here we don't have any information saying that a user can only post a single comment on a game. So if we have something like that, this is gonna change a lot of things. But here we have comments, all right? So what do we have here? So here, first I will just link these two entities, and then I will change the relationship from here, from the style. So it's also like, I would like to teach you how to use the Draw.io tool, how you can design your application, how you can design the system, or like the application design or the entity relationship diagram. All right, so here we said that user or a game have many comments. So this means a user can comment many times on the same game. All right, so this is for one user. Now let's take a group of users. So users, like any user, can post any comment. All right, so like this means that for a single game, for a given game, we have multiple comments. Now, so this is from this direction, from game to comment. Now let's see it from comment to game. So when we select a comment, so like we are in the database, so we are displaying the rows of the table comments, or like comment, we pick a single line. All right, so we pick a single record in that table. So when we see that comment, we know, or like how many games that comment belongs to. So this is the question that you need to ask in order to define the relationship between the game and the comment. So here, just let me recap. From the game, we said that for a single game, we can add multiple comments. So like we have one game, many comments, all right? So now from a single comment, when we pick a single comment from the database, it belongs to one game. So like we cannot have one comment to many games. So this means we have a one-to-many relationship between a game and a comment. All right, so here how you can imagine this, or how can you understand or design this. So when you select a game, you will have kind of a field which is like a list of comments, and then in the comment, so this comment is only dedicated for one game. All right, so here when we, even if you want to go a little bit into the technical details, when we talk about Hibernate, for example, so what do we have here? So we have a game, and we will have a field of type list of comments, and then when we come to the comment, we will have a field game of type game. So it's going to be a single field. So this means that a comment or a given comment belongs only to one game, and a game can have multiple comments. All right, so now how can we, so this is just the arrow, that the default arrow that we have. Now with how, or like which one from each side, so what are the symbols that we need to use? So now from the game side, so here you see that left and right, so left and right. So here also how you can see it. So like you see, you have a pointer, or like, so the arrow from the right hand side is pointed, and as you can see it, it's here, and from the left hand side it's none. So this means the left hand side is coming from the game. All right, so now this is the symbol for one-to-many. All right, so like one game, so like how we can read it, so it's one from this side, it's one game to many comments. Many, how we can design this one, so it's this link, or like it's this symbol right here. All right, maybe let me zoom in so you can see it correctly. So it's one game, too many comments. All right, so like one game, too many comments. All right, so now we are done with the comments. Let's go back to our business requirements and see what do we have more. So an authenticated user can add a comment, so this is fine. He can manage notifications, so we will come back to this one later on. Also, we have a wish list management. All right, so a user can add the game to a personal wish list, and then they can view their wish lists. All right, so here when we talk about a wish list, so let's go back in here, and I'm gonna add a new entity, and it's gonna be at this level. So I'm gonna call it a wish list. So now we are just designing our ERD system, or like entity relationship diagram, based only on the business requirement that we defined earlier. All right, so now I will just link these two entities, and then we will discuss about the type and the fields. So the wish list here, what do we have? So normally we don't have fields in here. So like, okay, so if I think about it, what are the fields that we can have for a wish list? So the wish list table it's gonna be only a table or an entity that will store the information for which game is already added to a wish list. All right, so now so we will come back to the fields if we need to add more fields. So here I did not add the IDs, I did not add the auditing fields like created date, created by, and so on and so forth, because we don't care about this for now. We will discuss them later on when it comes to coding part. All right, so now a game, how many times a game can appear in a given wish list, or in a wish list generally speaking. So like one game can appear in many wish lists, right? So imagine, or like consider or imagine a wish list as a packet, well, not a packet, but as a card, or as something that you are putting so many things all together. All right, so for one game we can find it in many wish lists. All right, so now when we talk about a wish list, so when we take a single wish list, so like a single wish list is something, just imagine it as I mentioned, like as a pocket or something like that, where you can put so many things. So a wish list, we can find so many games, or like many games in the same wish list. So for example, now let's try to understand it from a real life example. So me as a user, I'm on the platform, so I can add multiple games to my wish list. All right, so now if I go to my wish list, how many games do I have there? So I have many games. All right, so now we are maybe you think, okay, so if I go to the comment, I can find many comments. No, it's not the same. So like a game, so when we take a single game, we can find that same single game in many wish lists. So like a wish list, consider it as, for example, you are in an e-commerce application on Amazon or something like that, and you have your cart, or like you are ordering something. So the same product can be ordered by many users. All right, and now when you come, or like when you go to your cart, all right, or like your order, so in your order you can have many games or many products. So this means that we have a many-to-many relationship between the game and the wish list. All right, so now how we can design, or like how we can add the arrows for this one. So it's gonna be this, and from this side it's gonna be this. All right, so like this is a many-to-many relationship between the game and the wish list. Again, a game can appear in many wish lists, and one wish list can have many games. All right, so this means, so let's go a little bit down to the code. When we are designing or writing the code for the game entity, we will have a list of wish lists. All right, so like one game can appear in many wish lists, and then in a single wish list we can have multiple games. So this is how I determined, or like how I found out that for a game we have a many-to-many relationship. All right, now let's go back to our ERD. So here I will just remove these fields since we don't have anything for now. Now let's move on and try to find out what do we have for other requests, or like for other requirements. So here we have a game request. So like users can request a new game, to be added to the store. And then admins receive a notification, and once the game is added, the requesting user is requesting user is notified. So here, like I would like to ask you the question, try to think about it. And here, when we talk about game request, do you think that it has a relationship with any of these entities, or like mainly since we are talking about a game, does it have a relationship with the game? So the answer, so like here we can have multiple answers. All right, so we can have two answers for this one. We can whether have a relationship with the game, just to know if this game was created after a request or the game was not created after a request. All right, so like this is like here we need to decide about this one. So first I will add my entity in here. So I will call it game request. So I will call this one a game request. So a game request, it will have the same fields or like the same information, or not so much. I would say, like from my side, I think just for the game request, I would only require or like request the title. All right. So if a user wants to request a game, he just needs to request the title, or like I want the game The Witcher 3, for example, and then the admin will be notified. He will create the game and the game will appear in the game table right here. So now when we talk about this relationship, so here it's up to us, or like it's up to the discussion or the communication with the customer, how to decide for that. Okay, so like here the first thing that they can think about, so this entity can be a detached entity, so like an entity without any relationship. All right, so because here I just want to track what are the game requests. Okay, so here also I can add another field which is gonna be the status, or like the state of the game, or like of the request. So this means okay, so I have a game, or like I have a game request. Once the game is created, I need to change this status to created, for example. All right. Also, what we can have, as I mentioned, we can link these two entities all together. So then I know, for example, if one game is already requested or not. But here the question, do we need this information? For now, like for the time being, I don't think we need this information, because it does not have any value, whether for the users or for the admins or the owners of the application. So like the end users, they do not care if the game was requested or not. Or the admins, they do not really care if the game was created after a request or not. So now, for now, let's leave it a detached entity. All right. But if we want to, we can also later on, for example, if we want to know this information, if the game was requested, so we can just add the link or the relationship between the game request and the game itself. All right. So now let's continue. So here we have profile management. So let's leave this for now. I will come back to it later on once we finish with all the requirements. We have security and authentication. So this is also fine. We can leave it. We have notification. So here we have notification type includes comments, confirmation with emails, and so on and so forth. So for that, let's go back to this application system design. So when we spoke about the notification, we said that we will have a WebSocket. So like we will set up or create a WebSocket, and then we can produce some notifications, and then the end users, they will receive these notifications immediately, or like instantly. All right. So for that, let's think about something. So because what we know about WebSockets, if the user is already connected, so like if he's connected to the WebSocket server, he will receive the notification. Otherwise, he will miss this notification. All right. So for that, if we want to store or if we want to save the notifications, so this means that the user will not miss any notification that he receives in the application. So we can also think about having a notification table. Right, or an entity for a notification. So let's add this one here. Let's call it notification. Oops, I selected the wrong one, so I want this one. All right, so notification. And here for the notification, we will have a bunch of fields. So like we will have a text, we will have the receiver, we will have maybe the sender of the notification if it makes sense. So here let's have a message, and it's gonna be of type varchar, and we will have a receiver or destination user, and here let's say also it's going to be a varchar or like an integer, depends on the type, on the ID type that we will use. And we will have, for example, let's say maybe a level. All right, so like level, just to define how, like what is the level of the notification. So is it a high level notification, a medium level, or a low level notification, just to decide, for example, for a color or something like that later on in the front end. So I will make this one a varchar, or maybe we can define it as a number. So it's up to us later on. So a number means, for example, 1 to 3. 1 means high, 2 means low, medium, and 3 means low. Or let's say simply a varchar, just to make it easier for us. All right. So here for the notification, maybe we can, like, I'm just thinking out loud here, just to let you know how you can also think about such cases. So here we know that notifications are mainly about games, about the main topic of our application. But here, okay, we can link it to a game. All right, so like we can have the game ID. So like this notification is going with a message for the given user with a given level for a given game, for example. But in here, imagine that we are in a bigger system, like a more complex system. So with a more complex system, we might have a notification entity related to, I don't know, like it might be like 10 entities, 20, or like even 100 of entities just to have the notification. So here, what we can do in this case, we can have what we call like technical fields. All right. So here, for example, I will remove it later on, just to explain this. So here, for example, I can have a game ID, for example. So like a game ID, I don't care what is the type, so just put it like this. So we will have a game ID. So we will have only the ID, but without creating the relationship. All right, because first it might complicate too much the diagram. Second, it will create a relationship, and when I need, for example, to query something, I have a lot of relationships. But if we have, or like if you need to fetch, for example, for a given notification, if you need to fetch the information of the game itself that was linked to that notification, it's always a good practice, and it's a really good practice to have a link between the game and the notification, because when we have relationships between the tables in the database, this will accelerate the indexing and the querying and the searching in the database. So if the entities or the tables, they do not have relationships between them, so this means that when we can, of course, like we can say select games, select star from game, inner join notification on game.id equals, or like game.id equals notification.gameid. So this works, but the query, it will take longer than a normal query where we have a real relationship and also an indexing between the entities. All right. All right. So this is important to know. But for now, we don't need this game ID. So I will have my notification entity just in here. All right. So now let me go back to our business requirement. Then what do we have? So we have UI UX. We have also like a non-functional. So like for the non-functional requirements, we might find some information. So here we have scalability, it's fine. Security, it's also fine. Availability is also fine. Localization, maybe for localization we can think about something. And then we have maintainability. So like just an example, just to clarify something for you. When we talk about localization, so it's mainly about the front end, but maybe for some cases, for example, the user wants to store or like wants to have a support for a game with a title, for example, with multi languages. All right, so like for example, the title he wants to save the game with a title in English, in French, Arabic, and so on and so forth. So for that case, like in that case, we can think about something where where we can support the localization for the games. But for now, for our case, it's not the case. But the way to do that, we can have whether an external entity with a one-to-one relationship between the game and, for example, let's say we will have an entity called localization, where we have, for example, for each game, for example, the translated fields, we can have them in that extra entity or in that extra table with the translations, and then depending on the locale of the user, like the locale that we get from the front end, we just fetch or return some, we return the given translation, or even we can return everything, and then the front end he needs to handle that. All right, so this is just an example to give you an overview, or like to give you the idea when it comes to that one. All right, so now this is our diagram. All right, so like this is the system design. So like it might look simple, but now we will move to we will go back to our application system design, and from that we will start adding other entities, because so this covers only the functional requirements. All right, but we have other requirements that we have in here. All right, so like the first thing that we need to think about this. Like we have a Keycloak, right? So for the Keycloak, we said, what do we have? So like we want to manage, or like to delegate the user management to the authentication provider, which will be Keycloak for our case. But then we said that for performance reasons, we would like also to have a Keycloak listener that will save or persist the data into our application. All right, so for that, we need to think about having a user entity in our diagram or in our design. So here, all right, so here I will have a user entity. So like for the user entity, we can just define a few fields and then we can extend them later on. So here, for example, we will have email. So like, or the ID, well, sorry, not the ID, but the pseudonym. And it's going to be a varchar, and we can have, for example, the role of that user. It's going to be also a varchar, and also we can have a bunch of other information. So this is not so important for now, but the most important part for me here, I will put it in the middle, and then I will try to move this a little bit to the bottom so we can have some space. All right, so I will put my user entity in here. So now what do we have? When a user requests a game, maybe the owner or like the admin of the application, he wants to know who requested the game. All right, who requested that game. So for example, we can even use this information to say, okay, like the user John Doe has requested a new game with a title something something. All right, so here a game request, or like a game, can be requested by one user, but a single user can request many games. So like here we have one-to-many relationship from user to game request, or like many to one. So like a user can create many requests. So like one user can create many game requests. So let's now move on and add the relationship for that one, or like the symbols for the arrows. Okay, it's the other way around. Okay. Okay, so my bad, I will just remove it. So here we have one-to-many, and I need to draw it this way. All right, so here we have one and we have many. So a user can request many games, and one game, when we pick up a single game, it's requested from one user. We might have the case, all right, we might have the case that the same game might be requested by multiple users. For that, we will create a mechanism in the application, in our backend application, that will control this. So like we can try, or like we will control if a game was already requested or not. If the case, for example, we can just say, yeah, the game was already requested, and it will be processed in, I don't know, like 2-3 days, something like that. Or we can say, okay, we can accept many requests, or like we can accept duplicate requests for a single game, and then when we create a game, we just need to do the check and create it automatically. And also here, meanwhile, I was thinking about like when it comes to this game request, so like the idea just came to my mind, to be honest. So here for this game request, what we can do, we can also create an automated process that can create the games automatically. So like when a user requests a game, so we can have a scheduled job in our application that, for example, that triggers, or like that launches, I don't know, like let's say midnight every day, or like every 1 hour. If we have new game requests, we will process this game request automatically, and we will create the game in our database. All right, so like I hope this idea is fine, but I think the idea just came to my mind, so we will implement it. And in this way, we can also see how to implement scheduled jobs in using Spring Boot. All right, so now let's add more relationships. So here we have a user, and we have also a relationship between the user and the comment. So now let's forget that the user is 100% managed in Keycloak. All right, so here we have, when we talk about a comment, a user can add multiple comments. So like one user can add many comments. And also when we pick a single comment in the database, a comment is posted by one user. All right, so let's add the relationship. I guess now it's much easier and more straightforward for you. All right, so now one user can create many comments, and one comment was posted by a single user. So like we cannot find a comment saying, for example, hello world, which was posted by many users. So like I'm not talking about the text itself, but I'm talking about the record in the database. All right, so then what do we have? We have another relationship between the user and the wish list. So I will just move this wish list in here, and the game, I will move it a little bit down. I'll just redesign my diagram. All right, so now a wish list belongs to one user, and the user has only one wish list. So here it's going to be a one-to-one relationship. All right, so here one-to-one relationship. So like it's going to be one-to-one from both sides. So a wish list belongs to one user, and a user has a single wish list. All right, so for the wish list, then we can have some status. So like he can add, remove the games from the wish list, and so on and so forth. And then from the wish list, we can get the list of the games that are already inside the wish list. All right, so now this is our database diagram. Maybe let me choose a color. Oops, too much. Okay, let me try to do this. So this is our entity relationship diagram. Maybe I can make it full screen. All right, also maybe I can do it better than this. All right, so this is our entity relationship, or like our ERD diagram. So here, just to recap what we did. We started from a game. So we started from the business requirements of our application. So here we have the game. All right, so we said that we have a game, and we have a few fields or information like the title, supported platforms, cover picture, and so on and so forth. And then we have the information that the community can interact with a given game. Interact means commenting. So here a game can have multiple comments. All right, so a game can have multiple comments, and then a comment, one single comment belong to a game. And then we found, or like we spoke about wish listing, or like having a wish list. So the game can appear in many wish lists, all right? And a wish list contains many games. So that's why we have a many-to-many relationship. And then we found the information, or like we have the information in our business requirements, is that a user can request a game. So we need to have a track, or like a tracking entity or a tracking table, in order to track the game request. So here we created an entity, we called it game request, and this game request we discussed in the beginning whether to relate it to the game or not. Just for example, if we want to keep track if this game, or like if a given game was created after a user request or not. But we said for the moment it's not an important information. Maybe if we need it in the future, we will just need to create, or like to link these two entities. And then we said that we have a notification system, and we don't want the user to miss this notification. So for the notification, I just remember that we need to add another field, which is the status of the notification. The status means what? Means that if the notification was opened or not. So like, for example, when the user connects to the UI, he will see, for example, 5 notifications, or like 5 missing notifications. And when he opens the notifications, for example, we can just reset the counter, or like we change the status of each notification to for each notification to red, for example. And here what we can do, we can also link this notification with the user. All right, so like we have the receiver here, and the receiver is the user ID. So here, this is the user, right? So we can also, if you want to, we can also link this user with a notification. So let's do it, since we are fetching also this information. So here, how to link it. So now we know that a user can have multiple notifications, all right? But one notification belongs to only to one user. It's gonna be a one-to-many relationship. So this is my one-to-many relationship. So here I'm just trying to resume and to go back about, or like to recheck the information about my design. All right. So then we said here the user will be, or like my user information will be managed 100% using Keycloak. Okay. So like here when we use Keycloak, so what do we have? So we have the user information already stored in here, and the user management will be also in here. But we said in our so we said in our business requirement, so an admin can manage existing games, an admin can block users from accessing the platform. We also spoke about a user profile here. So like we have a profile management, so like users, they can manage their profile, updating personal details, managing passwords, changing profile picture, and so forth. So also, why do we need this user entity in our design right here? So for example, when we retrieve the comments, okay, so when we retrieve the list of comments, we want to display from whom this comment was posted, like who was the user who posted that given comment. So in that case, as I explained the last time, if I do not have, or if I do not clone somehow the users in my own database or in my own system, for each comment in here, I need to request or to send a REST request to Keycloak to retrieve the information of that given user. But just to make it easier, I can store the user information in my application, and then I will have absolutely my Keycloak listener who will listen on any change that happens on Keycloak, whether the user, for example, deletes his account, the user, for example, can update some information or something like that. So we will always receive an event from Keycloak, and based on that event, we can interact with it in our application. All right, so let's go back and continue with this one. So then we said, okay, so now we will consider that the user is an entity that belongs to us. So the user can request a game. So like when we talk about a game request, it was requested from a given user. So I want to know who requested that game. Also for the comments, and also we said a user can have a wish list, or user has a wish list. So I want to know the wish list belongs to which user. So this is how we can design, or like this is how we started from just the business requirements and also the application system design, and this is the final result. So for example, if it was only for like if we want only to rely on the application, so we are not done yet, by the way. I'm just trying to resume what we did so far. So here we have so if we want to base only on the business requirements, we will have a game entity, a comment, and then a game request. All right, and also maybe a wish list. So we will not think about notifications. We will not think about having an entity user in our application. So it's gonna be only like these 4 small entities. But now let's move on and continue thinking about our application. So here we have an email service. All right, so we said that our application, or the backend application, will queue a message to a message broker, and it's gonna be sorry, just a second, I need to remove this. So, and we will push a message to RabbitMQ, and then we will have another service, another emailing service that will consume the data from here and send a message to the user. So here we are talking mainly about the offline, or like the asynchronous notification. So here this is the synchronous notification, or like the real-time notifications, and here this is the offline, or like the async notifications. So for that, what we can think of, so like what can we add to our design or to our application? So here let's go back to the full view, and then I will add a new entity in here. So for that, I would like to add, for example, a template, because for the notifications, we can have a different type of notifications. And for each notification, I would like to have a dedicated email template for it. All right. So here I will call it email template. So this email template, it does not need to be linked to any other entities that we have in here. So because it has no relationship with any of them, but the only relationship that is maybe we can have a relationship between the email template and the user. So like to which user we already sent the email. So this might be something that we can do. Also what we can do also, like like it's just an idea, but we can think about it later on, is what we can have. So for example, let's say that we want to send an email, but somehow our message broker is down. All right, so if the message broker is down, so we will not be able to push the notification or to enqueue a message to our message broker. So like this one will be kind of, we will not be queued to our broker, and then the email will not be sent. So what we can have a track, like an entity or a table that will track the data or the messages or the emails that we send with a status, because when we queue something to a message broker, we can request an acknowledgement, means that did you receive my message or not. So we don't care about if the message was consumed or not. So like this is another topic. But when we send a message, or when we enqueue a message or produce a message to the broker, we can request an acknowledgement. So like, hey, did you receive my message or not? And based on that, for example, we can have another tracking entity. So to know for a given notification, what was the email template, for which user we send that notification. But okay, for now I will add it, but let's think about it later on whether it's worth implementing or not. I think it's worth implementing because it's going to be something important. So here I will have email track. I'm really not sure about the name. I'm really not sure. So here I will just have the template itself. and in here, so this one I will just give it this color. So this means like an entity that doesn't require any relationship with the other entities. And here, this email track, so this email track, it will have a relationship, or like a one-to-one relationship with the email track and also with the user itself. All right, so we will have also a relationship with the user. Maybe let me make it this way. All right, so here, when we talk about an email, so here, as I mentioned, like this email template, it does not really need to have a relationship with this email track, because I just want to know what was the template that I sent. But also, if I want to have a track in here, so as I mentioned, I will put it in a different color. This means that we will think about implementing this or not. But as I mentioned, like I think it's really nice, and it's gonna like it will help us, or like it will force us to think about a good design, how we can design such a solution. All right, so for the email track, we will have status, and let's say here it's gonna be a varchar, and a date, and so forth. So like maybe just the status is fine, or maybe here that why I mentioned here, like we don't need the email template, because in here we can have the template content, or like the content itself. All right, so like here I would just say a varchar in here. I'm gonna make it a bit wider. All right, so here why I need the content itself in here. So for example, I want to have a track. So like I want on a given day to see, for example, or to check for a given user, what was the email that I sent. So for example, what was the notification. So now we have a template v1. So like we have a first version of our template, and then we can update the template later on. So like that, for example, our UI UX designer, he said, okay, now we need to introduce some new changes on the template, and so on and so forth. But now when we go back to the email track and we see the emails that we sent from 1 year ago, it should appear differently, or like with a different template comparing to the current one. All right, because we just updated the current one, or like the current version, but we want to see what was the email, or what was the format of the email that we already sent back in the time. All right, and then so for the email track, so here a user can have, or like can receive many templates, but a template, or like an email track, if we call it so, was sent to a single user. All right. So I'm gonna switch. All right, so maybe let's keep it this way. So this one, it's gonna be a one-to-many. So like one from the user side and many from the email track side. So what, like one user to many, has many tracks, or like it's gonna be the same as the notification, except that this email track, instead of having a message, we want to have the template, or like the content itself. All right. So here, also for this one, it's gonna be one-to-many. So like a template, or like one email template can appear in many email track, but for a single email track, we have one email template. But here, this doesn't make sense, since we decided to have a copy of the template itself. So it might help us. To track, or to index, or to fetch the data. But what we need to display is the real template content that was sent, not the template itself. All right. So let's also add the relationship to this one. So it's going to be one template to many tracks. And for a given track, we have one template ID. All right. So did we forget anything else? Let's go back to our system design. So here we have Redis. So Redis is something different. Here it's gonna be a completely independent project. Same for the email service, the same for the WebSocket. S3 and CloudFront is something linked, or like related to the cloud. And the database, this is the one that we are focusing on right now. All right, let me again put it as a full screen. And now I guess we are done, and we can move on to the Q&A session. And I already see some messages in the chat, so I will start answering your questions if something is not clear. So now prepare your questions and I will answer them one by one. So I will move to the chat in 2-3 minutes. So just prepare your questions, and then once I see all the questions, I will start answering them one by one. right, so now let's move to the questions. I see a lot of important and interesting questions. So I will start from top to bottom. So the first question. So what about user roles? So as we mentioned before, user roles, it will be handled 100% via Keycloak. So we don't need it in our application. So we don't need to store or to create an entity role in our application. So the only thing that we care about, or like the only thing that we need, is the user entity and the user information. All right. So the next question, I don't understand the one-to-one relation between user and wishlist. All right, so let me explain this. Let me go back in here. So here I saw another question about the user and the games. So here, what did we say? So we said that the user can have a wish list. So this is what we have in here. All right, so where was it? Yeah, wish list. So we said that the users, they can add a game to a personal wish list. They can view and manage their wish list. So from that, we said that a user can have a wish list, but a wish list, it belongs only to one user. So this is the relationship that we have, or like this is where the one-to-one relationship came from, is that a user can have a wish list and the wish list belongs only to one user. So like we don't have shared wish lists. All right, so this is why we have a one-to-one relationship. So let's go back and move to the next one. All right, should the gaming category no longer exist? Actually, a really good point, a really good comment. So let me go back in here. And now we can also add a game category entity. So to be honest, I kind of forgot about this, but it's a valid point. So here, let's add a category, and the category will have a name of type varchar, and I would say that's it. Okay, let me give it the color, and now let's create the relation. So here, what do we have? So here we have a game. A game can belong to one category, and category can have multiple games. So like it's a classic relationship. So it's gonna be one from the game side and many from the category side. So like in the category we'll have a list of games, and in the game we will have a field of type category. Thank you for reminding me about this. So now this is the updated version of our ERD. Let me go back to the chat and let's keep answering the other questions. So going back to Yuri's question, I mean, isn't going to be a better approach to have roles in a separate table? So as I mentioned, like all the user management, we want to handle it, or we want to delegate it to Keycloak. So we don't need to think about or like to care about managing and handling roles and so forth. All right. Yeah, I think it's again about the roles. I hope it's clear. Just write me down if you understood my answer. All right. So then from Sadi we have can we make a many-to-many relationship with extra columns, comment, text, date between user and game without using comment entity? So this is a good question too. So here, let's go back to this. So here, if we want to have a relationship, like a many-to-many relationship between the user and the game. So a user and a game. So what is the type of the many-to-many relationship? So this is what we need to think about. So like a user can have many games, and one game can belong to many users. So this is also correct. But is this relationship really means the comment or not? So for us, we want to have a control over the comments, also because in here we have an admin. For example, like an admin can block users from accessing the platform. Also for the commenting part, and admins can moderate and delete inappropriate comments. So for that, it would be much better to have comments in a separate table or in a separate entity, so we can correctly or interact with it in a better way. I hope my answer is clear. So let me move to the next one. So for the next one, okay. Yeah, so we already spoke about the category. We already added it. So the next one, do we need a separate application for the WebSocket part 2? So nope, we will not have a separate application for the WebSocket. So it will be in the same backend application. So we don't need a separate one for that. All right. So what event can generate email track? Okay, so also a good question. Let me go back to the application system design. So the one that will generate an email track row in the table is when the backend application will send an offline or an email notification. So when we enqueue, or like when we push a message to our message broker, at the same time we will persist, or like we will create an email track in our backend system. All right, in our database, not the backend system, but in our database. At that moment, we will save, or like we will persist. So like I mean in here. So at that moment, we will persist the status in the table, and then once we receive the acknowledgement, we will update the status. All right, or we can do it differently. When we send the message and we receive the acknowledgement, we can update it. But if something goes wrong, for example, if an exception happens, we can also persist the email track with the specific status. For example, not sent, because for example we had an issue with the message with the message broker. All right. So what is game request exactly? Can you explain a little? So the game request is, as we mentioned the last time, or the time before. So I think it was the last time when we did the system design. So the game request, we said that in the application, a user can request a game. So for example, like the user is searching for I don't know, like Spider-Man 3, Spider-Man 4, and he cannot find it in the platform. So he can create a request. I want to have this game in the platform. So like he can, for example, just mention the title and so on and so forth, and then the admin will receive a notification. We have a new game request, and then the admin will create the game. And once the game is created, the user who requested that game will be notified that the game he requested was created. So like this was the story, or the idea behind having a game request. All right, so we have another comment. So maybe we have a many-to-many relationship between user and game over the wishlist table. In that case, many users can have the game on their wishlist. So this question is also important, because when we talk about a user and a game, so here, if the relation, we said that the user can have one wish list. So if we want to have a many-to-many relationship, this means that the user can have many wish lists. All right, but in the requirements, we said that the user can have a wish list. So like we are talking about a single wish list, not many wish lists. But if the case was a user can have multiple wish lists, so the relationship many to many between the user and the game, which will result in a wish list association table, this is completely correct. All right, but for our case, we mentioned that a user can have a single wish list. So that's why I created a wish list entity and mapped it to the user with a one-to-one relationship. So that was the reason behind. Okay, so another question from Vladimir. Maybe it's a good idea to create the intermediate table between wishlist and game, not to have many-to-many relationship between them. Let me read the question again. I didn't get it. So we need to create an intermediate table between wishlist and the game, not to have many-to-many. Yes, so yeah, that's totally correct. So when when we have a many-to-many relationship, then it will be translated to an association between them. So like we will have an association table, but for now, for the wish list, or like for the many-to-many relationship between the wish list and the game, we don't have any extra fields that we need to add in order to say, okay, let's create an association table with extra fields. So like in the code later on, we will use the annotation many-to-many, because this is very important, because I want to show you how we can manage, or how we can work with many-to-many relationships directly. Like many-to-many, I'm talking about when we have the many-to-many annotations. For example, how we can remove something from a many-to-many relationship, how we can query, how we can do a lot of stuff. That's why I want to have it in that way. But also what you mentioned is not false. It's totally correct. We can also like have a wish list, and then we can create an association table. We can call it, for example, wish list games or something like that, and then we can manage everything on our own. All right. So here's another question. I don't understand the role of email track templates. So for example, a template is going to be an HTML and CSS code that we want to send it as a rich text, or like a rich email. So for example, you will have a well-designed email, not just a text or like a raw text in the email, but we want to have some design, some colors, some buttons, and so on and so forth. So this is the first thing. And then the email track. So this, like, I added this email track table or entity just to consider, or like to consider the case. For example, my message broker, my RabbitMQ broker is not working, or like it's down, or something is wrong with that, or I'm not able to enqueue or to send the notification. So I would like to store, or like to have a track on the emails. All right, so that's why I need to store them somewhere. So that's why I created an email track, and we know that we want to send an email to a given user. So that's why we have the relationship between the email track and the user itself. I hope my answer is clear. So if it's not, please let me know, and I will try to explain it a bit more in details. All right, so the next question. So we can have category as a row of game table of, for instance, we can make this as enum. Yes, that's correct. That we can have this option, but from for me, it would be much better to have it separately, since the admin, for example, he can add, remove categories. He can, for example, update or modify the name, for example, if something is wrong. And this is much better, because if we want to have it an enum and we decide to add a new category for games, so this means that we need to change the code first, and then we need to do a new deployment for the application. And like, if we can reduce the number of deployments of the application as much as possible, just due to some small updates, that would be great. Also, like having the category in a separate table, this is good because we can have a full control over it. So this also gonna help us a lot. All right, so next question. Can you please explain how Keycloak keeping data? Does it have its own separate database? Yes, exactly. So Keycloak uses its own database. And by the way, we can link Keycloak to the same database that we will use, for example, because behind the scenes, Keycloak uses also PostgreSQL database to save and to manage the users. So we can also link it to the same application, but this will increase the load, and this will create an unnecessary dependency between Keycloak and our database. So for example, if the database is down, so everything, or like the whole application is down. So for example, if something is wrong with the database from PostgreSQL from Keycloak side, this will also impact our application. All right, so that's why it's better. It's always better to keep them separate. But behind the scenes, as I mentioned, Keycloak uses his own database, and by default, it's a PostgreSQL database. All right, so role field. So next question, like role field in table user should not be enum instead of varchar. Why role type does Keycloak send? Okay, a good question. So for the role field in the user, I just put it like that, but I'm not sure whether we need it or not. So like as a quick answer, we don't need the role because we can get the role of the connected user from the token. We can extract it from the token. So we don't need to store it in our database. But I just put it there to have. Okay, so it's funny, just to have the entity user a little bit wider, so I can add relationships with the other entities. I know it's maybe stupid, but that was the only reason. So like the role, we really don't need it in our application. All right, so the next question, I missed the first part of this stream. I'm sorry, so it's totally fine. Like it will be available afterwards. So like the stream will be, it's already recorded and it will be available in the playlist. So did you manage a question which I asked before on the last stream about documentation, useful books you wrote? Okay, I wrote it in my to-do list. I already have some resources. I will post them in. I will post them on Discord server. I will do it tonight or tomorrow morning. So like I have few websites that I read, just to get to know and like to improve myself mainly in system design, because this is the area that I'm trying to focus on for now. Also for resources, like my best friend is Google, so I try to search, and my trusted resources is Bildung, for example. Bildung is a really good one. It has so many resources, and like almost everything about Spring is covered there, so you can also use it. So I will just post you like a detailed list. Also for books, I did not read too much, to be honest, or like too many books, but I read few of them. But the problem, they are quite old, like they are from my time, which is, I think it's like 15 years ago, or like 10-15 years ago. But I don't think it's still valid for today's technology, or like for the progress that we have right now. But I will absolutely send you. Also, like if you need any information, or like if you want to have, or like if you have any question, just post it on Discord, and I will answer it. All right, any other questions about today's session? Do you have any other questions? So like, by the way, was it clear the way I progressed from like what we have, the business requirements, the application system design diagram, and how we proceed or progressed to prepare the ERD, or like the entity relationship diagram? I hope this was clear. So yeah. All right. I sent you an email to get access to the Discord community, and also to get the entity license for implementing the application. Yes, I did not check my email yet. Okay, let me check it. Okay, I see it from 19 minutes ago. So first, like I will add you to the Discord server. The only thing that you need is to join my Discord server. Okay, like I see a notification. So you just need to join my Discord server, and then send me your ID, and I will add you to the private channels. For the license, just check the first session that we had together, and in the video I already mentioned how you can acquire your IntelliJ license. If you don't get it, just let me know. It's just like you need to go to the link. I already posted the link, and use Bu Ali as a coupon code, and then you will get your 3 months free license. But as I recommended, as I mentioned also before, if you just try to use the IntelliJ Ultimate version, like the trial version for 1 month, and when the 1 month ends, you can then purchase or like acquire your 3 months free license. So like this, you will get a total of 4 months. So like it's much better, I guess. But I will answer your email for sure just after our stream. All right. Do you have any other questions? Also, like, if you want to give me a feedback about today's session, was it clear? Was it okay? Mainly like the way I proceeded, or like how I progressed from how, for example, like from my case, if I want to implement a new application, how I would design it, starting from the business requirements up to the implementation of the application. or like, well, not the implementation of the application, but the system design, the entity relationship diagram, or like the ERD design. So I hope it was clear. Yeah, so also if you have any other questions, just feel free. Otherwise, next week or next session, we will start the real action, and we will start implementing the application. And we will start by, first of all, like setting up or like creating the entities, the relationships. We will see the best practices. We will see so many things when it comes to creating the relationships. And before that, of course, we will set up our workspace. We will create the GitHub repository, and it's going to be public, so like you will have access to it. So like you don't need like, there is no manual interaction from my side to add you there. Yes, and then like we will start implementing the application step by step. So like each time or like every week we will implement a part of it. So yeah, it's gonna be like as usual and as you are used to my different tutorials. So yeah, just let me know if you have any comments. If you don't have, just let me know that you don't have any more questions or comments. And for that, I think for today's sessions, everything was covered, and I hope to see you next week. All right. And by the way, for example, in case, for example, I don't know, like for a holiday or for something, or like for any reason that I will not be able to join or like to do the live stream, I will post a message in the Discord server. So like this, like I will inform you soon enough to that, for example, that our stream will not take place, or if for example to change the date, or like to if I miss one stream and I want to cover it up, so I will also let you know in the Discord server. So that's why I wanted to have you all in the same channel. So if there is an announcement, so then I can communicate it with you in a fast way. All right, so everything was fine, for really well explained. Thank you so much. And by the way, I think you just joined, right? Because I don't remember your name from the previous session. So welcome to our bootcamp. And also, like as I'm always mention for everyone, please go ahead and invite your friends. Tell your friends about this bootcamp. Let's grow the community. And I would like to see more and more people during this live streams, because to be honest, I'm really enjoying it, and I'm really waiting like for the weekend to talk to you, to have a nice chat with you, to explain things for you. And also, like I really like your questions and your comments. It's really important, and even like sometimes it opens my mind to things that I did not cover for the application. So this is really great. All right, so it was quite clear. Nice session. Thank you for the help in studying. Of course, my pleasure. Like for me, the most important is that I deliver the information, and also like the most important is that you get the information in a smooth way. All right, so Yuri, I think categories to game should be many to many, or it isn't important. And can you please share with us the diagrams? Okay, so let me answer the second part. So sharing the diagrams, this will be available from next week when we create the repository. I will attach the slides, and as well as the diagram. So like we will have everything already synchronized on GitHub. So like we will have access to all the resources. So like I will not miss any resource. Coming to the first part of your question, so having a many-to-many relationship with a category. So this means, so now try to imagine it this way. So this means a game can belong to multiple categories. So like this might be the case. This is not wrong. Okay. So for example, a game can be, I don't know, like an action and horror at the same time. Okay. So this is correct. So like a game can belong to multiple categories. So the category can have multiple games. So this is like a many-to-many relationship. So this is totally true. But in our case, or like the way I thought about it, is like one game belongs to one category, not more. But if you want to, like it's not a problem for me. If you want to, we can also like make it a many-to-many relationship. So like both ideas, or like both ways, are correct. So we can have one-to-many or many-to-many between category and end game. So we can also discuss it when it comes to implementing the application, because this is not wrong. This is totally fair and totally correct. All right, so everything is fine for me. Good job. I'm senior software developer, but your channel is my principal source of technical watch. I really appreciate that. I'm really happy to have people I'm really happy to have people from all over the world. Also, I really appreciate your trust, because really having people in this bootcamp means that I have, at least among my public community, I have people who trust me, who trust my content, who trust my knowledge, which is really, really important and means the world for me. So I really appreciate that. Also, I'm an open person, so I admit my mistakes. So if I make a mistake, so it's totally fine. If anyone makes a mistake, it's totally fine. So this is how we learn all together. And also, I'm happy to have seniors in this bootcamp. And also, I'm happy that you are learning from my content. So this is the most important. This is the most important for me. Thank you so much. And one day we will have a session maybe on Google Meet or even on Discord, where we will have like a chat or like a voice chat all together. So like even we can get to know each other. We can have like an open discussion, or like it's gonna be live outside the bootcamp. So if you want to join, or if you like the idea, we can also like plan this such a stream, or like such a meeting. So it's gonna be a virtual meeting until maybe one day we meet in real life. So I'm really looking forward to it. So I would like to plan it. So one day we will have a session, whether on Google Meet or even on Discord directly. All right, guys. So if you don't have any other questions, I would like to thank you so much. Okay, let me see other questions. So thank you, Ali. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining today. Well explained, thanks. Okay, thank you. I really appreciate it. Bilal, thank you so much. By the way, this guy is my friend. I know him in real life, and I'm really happy that he's here with us today. Okay, I envy people who have jobs. It's so fun to program. Yeah, okay, so this is a good topic. Like, I would like to highlight two things here. First, envy, as far as I know, like for my English, envy is not something good. So like maybe envying someone is not good, but even if you don't have a job, so think about it in this way. If you don't have a job, if you want to program, you live in a community, you live in a town, you live somewhere. So I'm sure that there are so many problems that you can solve using an application. So you can implement an application or like many applications to solve many problems. So start from your small community, and try to implement something, try to implement an application. So I'm here teaching you and trying to guide you step by step how to implement an application. We started from an application which is really, really nothing. So like it has only like few functionalities, but we saw what is the magic behind and the complexity it might be behind designing an application. So we saw so many things, and I asked you the questions, and I was 100% sure that most of the people, they directly go to start designing the application, the database diagram, and implement. But you need to think about so many things. So this is the first thing. The second one, as I mentioned, start from your small community. Just, I don't know, like you will notice that something is not working fine, or like something needs to be digitalized. So go from there, start implementing an application, and at the same time start searching for a job. When you improve yourself, for example, when you implement an application, like you don't think about commercializing the application, or like having users. Okay, you can have users, of course, but I'm talking about, for example, you don't think about having subscriptions, for example, or even don't think about deploying the application itself, but just put it as a reference in your GitHub account. And then when you apply for a job, and when you attach your GitHub link, they will see the list of the projects that you did. And as much as the application or the idea is important, will attract, and trust me, it will attract so many employers. So don't underestimate anything. Always try to think about, okay, I have an idea, I want to implement an application, just go ahead and implement it, but do it in a good way. All right, imagine, or like put yourself in the situation that this application is a technical assessment to join a company. Just do it good. All right, just do it in a good way, and then put it as a reference for you in your GitHub account. So this is, trust me, this is gonna help you a lot, and this is gonna improve and give you like a higher score when it comes to hiring with companies. All right, so this is something that you honestly, this is something that you need to think about. All right, if you don't have a job, create a job for you. All right, even if it's not a paid job, but create a job for you. You can create a job for you. If you love programming, if you really enjoy software engineering or software programming, just go ahead and do it, and it will pay out one day. All right, trust me, it will pay out one day. When I started my YouTube channel, I had 10 subscribers, and all these 10 people were my friend, and like they were kind of forced to join the channel because like I was asking them, hey, like please go ahead and join the channel. But now I'm like, personally, I'm talking about 61,000 subscribers in my YouTube channel, which is something that I never imagined that one day I will reach that. But the key for my side was consistency. Like I was consistent. I was always learning and sharing, learning and sharing. And then now I have at least 40 people trusting me and joining me in this bootcamp, which means really a lot for me. And I have so many messages, so many emails from people who do not have the join button available in their countries. So I would expect to be at least 60 people in this bootcamp. But I try to find an alternative to publish also this content for them on a different platform. So, but the only thing that they will miss is this chat, this live chat altogether. But they will have the offline later on. All right. So like I don't want to turn the discussion into a different direction, but we can have, as I mentioned, a live stream or chat just to exchange and to talk all together. So let me see the last comment. It's been a pleasure, gentlemen. See you next week. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, guys, for being here today. Thank you for joining me. And I would like to see you next week. So have a great week. Have a great starting of a new week, and wish you all the success in the world, and see you next time.